I'm Martin Locock. I'm the project officer for the Safe Workplace Sustainable Workplace project, which is part of the Wales Institute for Work-Based Learning based in Carmarthen. And what I'm going to talk about today is some training or courses that have been delivered by our project and different ways of looking at the impacts that we've had in terms of the impact on the learners and on the companies and the economy. And then also going to look at areas where we found it difficult to make the impact we wanted, which can basically some nasty surprises we discovered about trying to take people at their word when they said they wanted something. We gave them it and they didn't want it, which is so it's an interesting thing to look at sort of as a learning exercise. So I'm not sure if you're all familiar with the Wales Institute. It was officially launched last year, having previously lived within the School of Business. It delivers a range of qualifications through its professional practice framework, which is built up of short courses, blended learning, a mixture of class-based learning either on campus or on site out in industry, and combining that with individual study, which is always based on people's own workplaces. And it runs across from level 4, so equivalent to first year undergraduate, right up to professional doctorate, and there are a series of exit qualifications, genuine university qualifications for people who get there in the end. The Institute has been running two programs under this ESF Work-Based Learning Programme, which was a it's European Social Fund, so it's the other lot for Rural Alliances. The aim of the programme as a whole is to improve the performance of the Welsh economy by investing in the skills of the workforce. And in particular, what we're providing is access to university-level content for people who are employed in Wales, or not all of Wales, in the convergence area. If you're familiar with European projects, you know how important postcodes are. The programme as a whole is managed by the University of South Wales, and then the two strands that we worked with was Elevate, which is a Pan-Wales project with collaboration between 4 different partners, one of which is us, aimed at improving management skills in the workplace, mainly, and there's a broad remit. And then specifically, the project I've been working on, Safe Workforce Sustainable Workplace, which was developed in response to two main triggers. One is the shift in terms of health and safety thinking these days, that we've done enough of ticking boxes and filling in forms. What we need to do is look at how we change behaviour. It's interesting that there's a psychological aspect to it, this whole idea of behavioural safety. How do you actually get people to behave in a safe way? That's really what we want to get to. And filling in forms is not the way to do it. So there's a general recognition that we need to do something different about the way we approach the safety, health and safety of workplaces. And then alongside that, obviously we've got the agenda coming from sustainability, and in particular with the bill on its way through to the Assembly saying, okay, businesses need to be aware of this because this is going to affect their businesses. And so those are the two triggers for us developing this project. So we developed a range of courses looking at a range of different topics, some of which touch very strongly on sustainability, others less so. There's very obvious sort of environmental sustainability agenda. So we've got that's a level 4 course, Environment to the Workplace, aimed for everybody. And then we've got ones aimed at managers, basically trying to give managers the skills they need to make strategic decisions about their business, informed by a better understanding of environmental issues. One big issue we keep coming across is that if you have someone who's a safety officer or an environmental officer, they're the expert, they know about it all. The managers don't know, depending on their career path, they may know absolutely nothing about it. So there's this issue about there's that missing bit at the top, that people don't really understand what the issues are. And then moving on to questions to social sustainability, we've also developed courses on stress in the workplace, which is increasingly recognised both as a health and safety issue, but also as a social issue, obviously. what we found when we developed those courses, we found that actually it was difficult to get people to do them. Because although they sounded nice in theory and they were the sort of thing that people would ask for, so oh, could you do a course on this one? The answer is yes, we could. But actually we struggled with that, but we were eventually able to develop a product that proved genuinely popular by combining a mixture of like hard health and safety stuff and lots of other stuff, which are skills which people recognised that they were missing. And in particular, the whole question about sort of team dynamics and how people behave in the workplace. These are skills which the current workforce lacks, and so we developed a course which would actually address that using the Insight psychometric tool, which is a very simple way of looking at different types of people, the way different people behave, and different way different people communicate, using mindfulness and looking at team dynamics, communication skills. So it's a package which together ends up 60 credits at level 4, so it's quite a, it's 30 credits, sorry, 15 each, 15 credits at level 4. It's quite a big chunk for people who probably haven't been involved with higher education at all and left school many years ago. So it's quite a big, steep learning curve for them. But it has proved very successful, and we've rolled out quite a number. So in terms of how we measure the impacts, if you're a university person, you have numbers and say, right, we've got some numbers, we quantify how much impact we've had. We can say we've sent 24 people on these courses, only one on that one, only 5 on that one. These are the management ones. So we've got that missing link, is that the managers don't feel they have the time or interest to get involved. They're happy to let other people do it, but not them. So, but the big ones, say at the bottom, 81 people doing that leadership course. Basically, people enjoy doing it. People making decisions like the sound of it and recognise the need, and people doing it actually enjoyed it. And then we had this rollover effect that the people who've been on the course said it's really good. You really want to have it, run it again. So that's one way of looking at the numbers, saying yes, we've done that with some students. But another way of looking at it is saying what's the impact we've had on those companies. And we have actually made a substantial inroad into dealing with these cohorts of people from individual companies to say we've actually reached, so like, you know, a big employer here, 4,000 more staff, you know, we've delivered 2% of those staff have been on that course. If we run this over an annual basis, quite soon we'll build up a critical mass of people who share an understanding that we're looking at. And in the case of this employer here, relatively small one, they explicitly said, I want to send all my management team on this course so we can then share an understanding, share a language, and we will then be able to move forward using that. So they're actually seeing it as a way of initiating institutional change by changing the culture, by having everybody on board. So that's the companies can say, yes, we are changing the culture there, and it is visible, you know, sort of in terms of the way people talk about what they're doing, that all of a sudden they are thinking about environmental issues. So that's some quantitative stuff. Some qualitative stuff. These are some quotes from the students. They actually included this as part of their assignment. We hadn't actually asked them, tell us at the end whether you think this was a really worthwhile course. But the answer is, yes, it was very worthwhile. I mean, all the messages that we wanted people to take from engaging with the sustainability agenda, you know, they're saying, yes, this is working, this has actually switched us on, we now understand, we now know it's important. And they keep on telling us that, which is brilliant, you know, sort of that it's showing that the way we're doing it is actually having that engagement. The astonishing thing about this, and I won't read them out, but the astonishing thing about this is that these are people who are working in an organisation that is already spending millions of pounds on environmental protection measures and is, at a strategic level, fully committed to sustainability. These are people who every day their working lives are constrained by environmental issues, but they've never made the link between what they were being asked, forced to do at work, and what the purpose was, why it was important. And this transformative effect is actually gone. It's the sort of impact that we would dream of, and you know, sort of it does seem to work. So we've reached those students, we've reached those companies. we've had that impact on the individuals. And we have to, well, early days of course, but we have to hope that that would have some visible actual impact in the future in terms of the way these companies perform. But as I said, I was going to look at a bit of the issues where we didn't have the impact that we wanted. First, the most surprising thing is that we thought, right, everyone's worried about sustainability. How is this going to affect their business? If they're selling to those public bodies, and public bodies have a sustainability duty, then it's not going to be long before they're going to say, well, if you want to supply us, you have to make sure that you've got environmental stuff in place. That seems obvious to us. They hadn't even noticed. They were completely unaware that sustainability was on the agenda. As far as they were, which comes back to this sort of second point, most of the companies we talked to have no forward plan. They were still very much in recession mode. We've got to keep going this year. And that is not just in terms of sustainability, that also cuts across things like staff development and succession planning, horizon scanning. Doing anything other than day-to-day making the money is not on the agenda. And I think that's, which, when we're talking to companies, you have to recognise we're starting from a very long way back. As I said, over the link to that, if you say this is a course that will help you understand, people won't spend their time and money on doing that. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's never going to be a priority. So it was only when we developed these specific ones that we really got much demand. We have this issue, I'm sure you're familiar with it, that people will turn off. They say, oh, look, we've got that system in place. We don't need to do any more. We're compliant, and therefore there's no point trying to encourage us to develop. And that is a big issue, and certainly that's the biggest issue we found in trying to persuade companies to get involved. These courses are fully funded, so the only cost involved was actually the staff time. So if like, there's no reason to say no, but that's one reason to say no. Again, so it's a similar issue saying about the fact that the management are not engaged. They will do what they have to, but they won't do any more. And again, sort of coming out from that feedback from the students, very low level of existing knowledge. Now, it's easy to live in the bubble of saying, oh, we all understand climate change is happening, important thing, these are all important issues, and we might even be able to make sort of informed discussions about that. But when we get out there into the real world, people know nothing, and we're having to start again from a very low level. I don't know if there's not a problem with it, but recognise that. And then sort of perhaps the final bit, which really was surprising, was when we were talking to companies who were signed up to various environmental standards, whether it's ISO 14000 or the Green Dragon scheme. There's various different schemes out there. But talking to those companies, we would have expected there to be an open door. All of these standards have a commitment that there has to be leadership, commitment from the top, there has to be leadership, there has to be communication so the entire organisation understands what they're doing and why they're doing it. That all of those standards say that. And our experience in talking to them is that then that bit of it just isn't working. That people may be putting the systems in place on the ground to ensure that they're managing their environmental impacts, but that leadership and culture just isn't changing. And that was a surprise to us, because if you look at the documentation, it all sounds like problem solved. I mean, the one video. So I just say, it surprises me that the university has done so well in reaching. There's a mismatch between the institutional aspiration as a body and what actually happens on the ground. There is a mismatch there. We're just the same as everybody else. I'm not saying it's a criticism. But so trying to make sense of these issues about what we're recognising when we're talking to companies and seeing where they are, and so what I tried to do was think, well, in a way, there's lots of odd messages here. So I tried to make some sort of sense of that by looking at organisation, different aspects of an organisation, so we can talk about the different bits of an organisation and how turned on they are. And in the old days, everybody would say, well, we'll spend some money on doing green activity, that'll make the company look good. Now, there is good corporate social responsibility as well, but then, there is also, it's just a token. It has no impact on the rest of the organisation. Most companies we deal with are actually dealing with this. They're actually putting a lot of time and trouble into compliance, and they're doing the fluffy bit, but the rest of the organisation is left there. What you'd hope from a Green Dragon type company is that it would be there at the top, leadership filtering down. So we didn't see that very often. What we often end up with is this, and certainly after they've been on our course, is that, yeah, the staff are on board, they're complying, the missing link, senior management, they're still making strategic decisions about what they're doing, what new building they're going to buy, what new machinery they're going to install. They're making those key strategic decisions without actually understanding the implications. So the project's now coming to an end. It's coming to an end at the end of the month. What are we going to leave behind? Some of our learners are going to carry on. So they've done their short courses. They want to do further courses. They want to eventually get their BA or their certificate. We're talking to the companies we've been working with about doing running additional cohorts, not free. Of course, that's always a big issue, but those discussions are going on. And we hope to actually develop a specific targeted sustainable development module and hopefully put together some sort of program under professional practice. So those are things which we'll leave behind. But the main thing we'll leave behind, and again, sort of some videos for you to look at afterwards, is we put together a series of learner journey case studies where people are talking about their engagement with higher education and how it's affected them and how it affected their work and their workplace. And they're very powerful, and I recommend you, if you've got a few minutes spare, to have a look on the website. Thank you.
Thank you.